Thank you for tuning in to Answers from the Universe with your host, Jessica Morocco. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
So we're happy to be here. I'm still going to plow right through this.
All right. So once again, we did have an earlier show that didn't get recorded, and it was great. So we'll regard that as a rehearsal. So here we go. Andronicus, Chapter 14. Greetings, goodwill, and solicitudes. We had new arrivals today. They are the beings from Ketron. They are much larger than we are, and they have an abrupt mannerism similar to the Vinkala, but seem to be much more evolved and in control of their surroundings, rather than brutish and erratic as we have often perceived the Vinkala. The Vegas have told us that they are not the same beings. Now Windows is telling me to evolve to Windows is just, Microsoft has just opened up an enormous page that's saying, please wait. There we go. It's gone in front of the screen I was trying to read. Upgrade to Windows 10. We know you want to be a transhuman. Anyway, meanwhile. Alright, so they seem to be much more evolved and in control of their surroundings rather than brutish and erratic as we have often perceived the Vinkala to be. I can't help but see them as cousins or an evolved counterpart to the Vinkala. The Vegas have told us they are not the same beings. They are much more highly evolved and have that abrupt way about them when they first encounter new beings to gain control from the beginning. I'm not sure I care for the Ketronians, and it has put us a bit on edge. We are becoming less passive in our approach after being enslaved by the Vinkala and intimidated by the Siltarin or Lucido. I believe our threshold of pain has reached its limits. The Vegas have been spending more time with us to allow us to acclimate to their presence. It is like a strong banter of sounds. Typically, we work telepathically from your perspective. That is the reason why you do not hear my voice and recognize only words of a subtle nature. The head of this tribe, Borkum or Barkum, is hard to decipher since it is a guttural sound from terminology. Their voices cut through us with their unnerving tones and at times shrill vibrations that move us to irritation. I often think they could challenge the most gentle of creatures and incite anger. When they tone down their voices, it is much more audible and provides a form of clarity and resonance to our highly sensitive hearing mechanisms. The Vegas say they are very large in scale and came from another universe beyond our scope of reality. We are not tuned into their vibration, and the Vegas asked us to align with their tones to be able to monitor them as they travel through our region for tracking purposes. Since our women have arrived, I have decided to be the primary one to learn this tactic, and discovered that it's the best thing I could have done. Yesterday, my scope of attunement had expanded beyond 4 galaxies, and I am now reaching into 2 universes, including yours. I began seeing 2 separate universes operating and signaling various codes and messages, all at the same time.
At this moment, I could see his visual map, a series of lights that formed 2 separate circular universes in their proper rotation, as if I was viewing it through sonar equipment on a boat or submarine, but much more detailed and complex. I could also see that he could move in closer to any specific planet to gather information about its status. All types of beings, activity, and more were revealed to Andronicus.
Gupta, the primary teacher, this is the Vegas, asked me how much I could see. I told him, and he nodded his head and said, "This is what we have been waiting for. It has been you all along. You have been the chosen one from Source to carry this information, to prevent imbalances on certain planets and fields of operation. The Great One, Shiva, has shared his knowledge with you." I shook my head. This was not my desire to fall upon this course of power. I may be further targeted and injured for my knowledge. I have been given a very important and greater responsibility than I had expected. My hopes would be, as any galactic sojourner would expect, that my role would be complete, and that I would step into the role of a teacher. I would have my partner and create a wonderful, peaceful lodging and permanent home for my people. Now the role has changed significantly. I had inadvertently taken the power of all these regions from the Ketronians, and primarily from their chief, Ketron. I asked Gupta, "Did you know this would happen to me? How do I remove this burden and give it back, or to some other being who desires to be devoted to the cause of peace amongst the universes?" Gupta replied, "It is the order of Source. When power is abused and misused, it is taken from the hands of the user and given to those they have created the greatest offense to. In this case, Ketron despised you and your people upon meeting him. He knew you and your people were more worthy stewards of the energetic light. His jealousy and envy created a hostile tone that was heard back to Source. He was trying to destroy your people for no other cause than for your light. He will remain your enemy until he sees that his cause is no longer valid. Until he surrenders and admits his shame and abuse of the power given to him by Source, then he will be restored. You cannot cure him, and unfortunately he will always be close behind you. You will not be able to destroy him either. He was created by Source as you and I were. Because of your anger and rage of his presence, you will also be plagued by some of his decisions as a brother who causes you so much trouble. You have gained new gifts to assist you on your quest. His people are giants. They do not understand your ways, and both of you will learn from each other as rivals often do. It is a race to the finish, and in the end, both shall find your place. Both will find your place. Both shall find your own peace of mind and final home. The one will sharpen the other. Both will receive respect, and new kingdoms will be established. Source is sharing his power with only a few until now. The scope is broadening, and he continues to create galaxies beyond our sphere. We, the Vegas, will reside on your planet, no more. The baser beings who were having trouble evolving, the Slitarin and Lucido, have been adjusted and aligned. The Vinkala left because they knew Source was demanding that they become adjusted and unprogrammed by the Aldebranians, another rogue planet of the rebellion. It has not been easy for us to make the decisions that we made. The Slitarin and Lucido would both like a better experience, and many will be in the new planet we call Earth. The Slitarin, Lucido, Vega sector beings we call the Lemurians, or the Moon, and the Vinkala have already gone there. We have been waiting for them. The woman, a human queen from the location of Sumer, was not supposed to have been brought to this planet. She will retain knowledge of advanced civilizations in her psyche. This will be a great detriment and prevent her from ever having a simple human life. She is much like you. You both share a challenged destiny, although for some reason Source had allowed it. The Vinkala knew they would alter the outcome of the human destiny as the more powerful beings in the galaxy, and they wanted to have that power over them. By bringing the Queen of Sumer, they have created a variety of outcomes that must be overcome before there can be peace. You have discovered that you have emotions for her that are unexplainable. You both hold that key to unlock the freedom of the humans and other cousins of the human race. If not, the reptilian races will dominate all of your civilizations throughout the galaxy. These races who will dominate you will be the Ketronians, Vinkala, Slitari, Caduceus Serpentine, and others. It is who evolves, thrives, and survives. Now, the light of the upper stars are changing to red. The bloodshed of many was predicted. The wars of many will pass until this time arrives that you shall remember your great path and trek across this vast universe. Tread lightly upon the path of other civilizations. You will never know if you may have another encounter with another Ketron, and this shall befall you once again. Our blue star, Vega, is now calling us back. We will all be gone before nightfall. You will be in charge of Zephron, but you will continue to hear our guidance. Ketron hears from others who are guiding them. We will not arrive to assist you unless he draws them into this alternate space. It will be as it shall be. Then this will pass too. When our conversation was finished, my mind began to race. Gupta disappeared into a vapor, and that was the last time I saw him. I didn't realize how much I appreciated him, and now all of the Vegas were leaving us soon. In haste, I ran to their camp and got lost as if I was running in circles. I was not able to ask them any more questions. By nightfall, I found their camp, and only a fire was lit, with a blue stone upon it. I removed the stone from the fire with ease. I don't know how I did it without feeling the burn. I keep the stone with me everywhere I go. I wear it around my neck. I've given a small piece of it to all of my friends. They will be in connection with the Vegas in the event that something happens to me. I'm in great distress. I don't want to survive without them being here, and don't want to deal with the difficult Ketronians, or, for that matter, even the Slitari, Lucido, or future encounters with the Vinkala. I found myself running to see Sumeranis. She gives me comfort. This is the first time I was able to speak with her. Our wavelength is finally aligned, and she could see my kind benevolence. I touched her hand and sighed from the great distress of knowing what was ahead of me. She then reached down with her other hand and touched my face.
You were worried.
Yes, you finally understand me.
Your tone was very loud to me, like the sound of colliding planets.
That was the sound of Ketron and the Ketronians. I gestured to Vega.
I see them. They are warlike. You can understand me now as well.
Check this for approach. I want to lay with you now. I am under a great deal of responsibility and need comfort.
Come to me and sit beside me so I can put your mind at ease.
4 hours lapsed. The Vegas were all gone. They had left the camp before Andronicus came there, and they circled Zephron to remove any and all devices that would give any of the beings an advantage over one another. They all needed to know how to survive, to protect their camps and be harmonious, as war was forbidden on this planet. Any attempt at war would result in them being immediately sent to an alternate space where they would match their own aggression with a similar race. This continues for some of the beings. Others evolve enough to leave Zephron. What happens
to you and Sumer? Does she stay with you?
Yes. I asked, on this planet, I had asked the Vegas if she could be what you could call a wife to me. She makes me very happy.
How are you managing the planet Zephron without the Vegas?
It has not been easy. Their presence created a wonderful sense of peace and harmony. We still live harmonious with our own people, but the Slitarin and Lucido cannot seem to find rest. We have incorporated tones and sounds and vibrations that we discovered help us to calm these beings. The Ketronians, however, are still disruptive and territorial. They are often caught in our food source without permission. Sometimes they try to lure our women and even our men to join their camp. Our people are very equipped to survive and would be a great asset to them. They are curious about our intimate connection to our women and are beginning to show interest in having one of our females as a mate. It is distracting and requires a lot of focus. Sumer said there are humans very much like the Ketronians, as she can remember. Very brutish, warlike men, as she states. I wonder if she is from the future timeline now, as you are. This is when they seem to be part of the Earth. Right now, as I view the Earth, it is full of very large ancestors of the Vinkala, reptilian beings. I even see the Slitarian ancestors, bird beings and others. All of this is a part of our destiny, as we move through time and space. This is what Gupta predicted.
It appears that he was looking into a very early time period on the Earth and was referencing dinosaurs as the ancestors of the Vinkala, Slitarian, and others. The confusion of time periods seems to exist because either he is not able to see linear time, or that he only has access to certain time portals according to how the portal opened up and where the Vinkala left it when they exited Zephron. I'm not sure if the dinosaurs are actually the ancestors of the Vinkala or similar as reptilian species. He, Andronicus, seems to be sorting it all out, very curious about our existence as well as the stories from Sumer, what the stories that Sumer told him.
We must depart at this time. It is a new practice to begin educating our people about the other species around us and how to manage the aggressive actions of the Ketronians. Farewell for now, my friends. Seek upper Earth existence as your formative growth state. Rise and rest with the sun, as it is there to nurture your most perfect physical health. 3-9-43-7. We are all one, and in peaceful awaiting the blue star Vega light. Andronicus.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. I sort of like that last statement of giving us advice, and this is kind of an old statement of rise, go to sleep and rise with the sun. That's how you keep yourself in most perfect physical health. And also seek upper earth existence in your formative growth state.
Yeah, that's quite cryptic, isn't it? What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. Was there an option in his mind? There was an option to live in the earth, if he's saying the upper earth.
I see. So stay on the surface rather than go on the.
Stay on the surface, yeah. I think he felt that it was, and then he talks about the necessity of being exposed to the sun. So I thought that was interesting, and then also waiting for the blue star Vega light. Recently I just created an elixir as blue star Vega. So, it's a combination of different herbs and essential oils. And they've been giving me some blends to put together to help people with. But getting back to some of the earlier things, there's an introduction here of the beings from Ketron that, from my impression, they were like giants, but had made themselves smaller so they could kind of interact with the others. And they had this very annoying sound that they made, probably like, the barking of a dog or these kind of dinosaur creatures like screaming and, that kind of weird guttural sound. They're just to intimidate. And so Andronicus is just really annoyed. I think it's the last straw right now. Who is this?
Yeah.
Right, we've already been, tortured in many ways by the Mikala. You know, they mind controlled us and, you know, had us as slaves. We had to walk on eggshells with the Sleetaran because they were kind of irritable and moody, and the Lucido, the Mars beings, seemed to, you know, always kind of be getting into things and destroying the upper atmosphere and the environment from science projects. So you've got all this type of stuff going on. So now that, you know, they're kind of at their wits' end, but meanwhile, the Vegas are here at Zephron, and they're pretty much keeping everyone toned down. The incident of the woman from Sumer that comes through the portal, they bring her up, not realizing what they're doing, and now dealing with these beings from Ketron. And I can't help but think that they're sort of like Titan. They're reptilian, but they have this Titan way about them, and kind of irritating, and it seems very much war-minded. The problem that happens is that because they're war-minded, they stir up Andronicus, and Andronicus has sort of this kind of energetic thing going back and forth. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, and just to make it easy and allow you to get in a more comfortable space and have your tea, and then I know it's been kind of a stressful event, and so we're just gonna kind of, I think we got the message out and it's recorded. Maybe, you know, we'll redo that one again, just so it's a little clearer for people to actually hear the transmission. But for right now, I think it's good.
Yeah, it should be all right, because what you're hearing is not what's being recorded.
Okay.
It's going over the air. I'm using a much nicer microphone than you're hearing now.
Okay.
It's all very complicated. You should see me.
I can imagine. That's why I want to allow you to kind of, you know, be comfortable and move around, because this is very, very difficult. And I'm very grateful that you did this for me, because I know that, you know, you could be doing other things right now, and you have a very valid excuse to not have a live radio program today.
So what we're going to do is go back to streaming the Revolution Radio A probably again. If that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So we'll be. I hope to be back online by next week. I really hope to be back online by the weekend. Otherwise, I'm going to be real doo-doo about putting on the webinar. But we'll see what happens. Some of the things we discussed earlier, though, were very important, and maybe they were lost. Maybe they were just for that moment.
Yeah, I think, you know, we did discuss it. Maybe they'll come up again in another part of the transmission, and we'll trigger those memories. I know that, like I said, there's. And what's interesting is Alex Collier and I were both focusing in on this Android bot type of event that you know, some people are thinking that we're moving into.
Yeah, the transhumanist agenda.
Yes. So, you know, and I was dealing with that this week with a client, and we were discussing, and she was actually hearing metal sounds and tapping into that energy somewhere in whether it's the future or in the now. But we had to disconnect her from it. I had no idea that Alex was talking about it. So, you know, none of this stuff's accidental. It's all happening at the same time. We're all picking these things up. But the Andromedans are here to help us. And, you know, so are the Vegas and probably some other beings that we don't know about. But I'm grateful that we're getting through much. And that's a good thing. Yeah. So any last thoughts, JP?
Well, one of the things that we spoke about in the non-recorded bit was the the basic idea that the Vegas formed Lemuria. You're saying that there were a bunch of Vegas who became what you call Lemurians.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, but the man who was speaking for the Vegas, his name was Gupta, which is a very common Hindu name. And he was blue, and he also spoke of his lord Shiva, who is also blue, and as we know, Shiva is the statue that is sitting outside CERN.
Yes.
And it's, he's got 4 arms, he's a sun god, producer, destroyer, creator, all those ideas. But what was interesting is that it's basically a kind of, sounds very much like the Hindu Veda. Interesting, Vega and Veda.
Yeah.
The names
I told you earlier, I said I kept on hearing, probably about a year ago, the word Azure Vega, which Azure, A-Z-U-R, means blue.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, so it's a blue star, Azure Vega, or the blue people. And then I started seeing the, blue beings. And the Hindus have many different explanations for it. One of them being that Shiva, swallowed the poison for everyone. That was what one of my Hindu friends told me is the reason why he was blue. But because it didn't kill him, but it affected him and changed, almost made him look like that color that before you die. But I'm sure that I've heard other explanations. I can't recall them at this point. But so the word Azure Vega came to me, and I was like, well, it sounds like Ayurvedic.
That's very interesting.
So, yeah.
There's a race in India of Indians who are, they're almost black, but they're almost blue. They're called Dravidians, and they have, like I said, a very, very blue-black skin. Beautiful. But yeah. they are completely vilified by all the rest of the Hindus. They're like untouchables. And very sadly, that they're very despised, and they probably don't know what they're messing with. But I just wanted to point out also that Gupta gave Andronicus a cosmic law, and it said, "It is the order of source. When power is abused and misused, it is taken from the hands of the user and given to those they have created the greatest offense to." So we could see that perhaps the Palestinians and native First Nations and all these traditional races have been oppressed by the power of the West and the whatnot. So it might well be that we might see that sort of thing happen on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's just, I don't know if it's, what we would refer to as karma, but it's almost like when you are very aggressive towards someone, you lose power to them. And so they're just trying to get people to recognize that there is that exchange, and his lesson to Andronicus was to be mindful of that, because Ketron was someone that would always be around him until he learned, and then he can get past it. And Zephron seems to be a proving ground, a place where they learn, and then if they evolve enough, they can move past it. Otherwise, they are sent somewhere else, or they were stuck on the planet. So it's interesting,
Right.
A lot of parallels to even our experience now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's building up to be something that is explaining how things got to be the way they are. Because in this paragraph from Gupta, so the revelation from the blue Vega is saying that Ketron will remain your enemy until he sees that his cause is no longer valid. Will not be able to destroy him, because he was created by Source, like everyone was.
Right.
And
They were everyone's.
Yeah, but this is the bit, because you've got anger and rage of his presence, you will also be plagued by some of his decisions. It's not interesting, but it's, Andronicus is not perfect. They're very passive, but in that passivity is the inability to express anger properly, and it becomes rage and fear. So Andronicus has to get over the fear. And the other part that which he was talking about was, feeling this great responsibility of him. He says, I'm in great distress. I don't want to survive without the Vegans, and don't want to deal with the difficult Ketronians, or even the Slitari who go and keep your encounters with the Incarnate. And that's when he went over to go and talk to the woman, and what a chat line.
But the Ketrons are going after their woman now and trying to manipulate their men and get over to their camp because they know they're survivors.
No, but this is when he goes to see Sumer and so the first thing she says is, "Yeah, I see those people. They're warlike. You can understand me now." And he didn't even say, "Yeah, I can understand you now." He says, the first thing is this chat, "I want to lay with you now. I'm under a great deal of responsibility and need comfort." So he's not kind of got the old chat up line sort of thing. But she seems happy enough to deal with him. So it's not like that.
There is that dynamic, isn't it? It's funny. They're not very different from us.
Yeah, and it's actually refreshing to see that he's not that sophisticated. Their interactions with other people are still a little, he's shy and passive, and he doesn't know. He's a bit awkward, he's just a bit of one of these, what do you call them, emo kind of guys, he's a bit, all right, I want to lay with you now, okay.
I want to lay with you now, yeah.
That's it. So
finally I can hear what you're saying. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now you can hear me. Let's get to it. So anyway, so we see him hooking up, and then the Gupta.
They disappear.
Yeah,
right?
Gupta disappears, but there was something that happened that Gupta said to Andronicus. I was just trying to find it. There we go. By bringing the Queen of Sumer, they have created a variety of outcomes that must be overcome before they can be peace. All right, because number one, they've been using time travel, and that's created a variety of outcomes, different timelines. And all of these timelines.
Bringing Sumer there.
Yeah, because Sumer is now out of her natural timeline.
Right. And like I said, that was an accident of Andronicus. He didn't realize he was pulling her out of another dimensional space. He thought she was in a basement space.
All right. So Andronicus pulled her in, and now he says, "You've discovered you have emotions for her that are unexplainable. And then you both hold that key to unlock the freedom of the humans and other cousins of the human race." And so what he's saying is, in the relationship that he has with Semiramis, he holds the key to unlock the freedom of the humans.
Right. So Source allowed it. Source allowed.
It's in emotion.
Someone to be captured out of another time period that was not supposed to be in that space for a higher purpose.
But I'm going to say it again. You have discovered that you have emotions for her that are unexplainable. You both hold that key. He's referring to the emotions as that key to unlock the freedom of humans and other cousins of the human race. It's in our love and our love for each other that will...
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I just wanted to really drill down into that because it's very subtle what he said, but that's really key. So.
I didn't catch that, even though I was, writing it down. I didn't catch it. Interesting.
So, it'd be interesting to actually, because presumably Andronicus goes on to, exist in various time spaces, and whether Andronicus is actually known in our Earth history as anything. He might not be Andronicus now, he might be something else. But as Semiramis may have become Semiramis, there might be other people around.
Yeah. Oh, and we talked about Ishtar, too.
Yeah.
Because Ishtar, we were saying that why would they look at Semiramis or Ishtar, which is, they came from that part of Sumeria, and I think that the whole thing was that she would have been portrayed or perceived as deity because she was sent into the earth, and we were talking about Easter, which is another word for Ishtar, and she supposedly was brought into the depths of the earth, and similar to like what happened with Semiramis, and supposedly died, and then was brought back up, and kind of was resuscitated by an angel or something like that.
So yeah, so there's
sounds like Sumer.
Yeah, and so we may see parallels to these beings in our history develop, and we see how what he's actually talking about is a kind of very, very early history of humanity, which is really what we need. We need to know what is our history. There's so many different stories, so many different overlays and versions of the truth.
Yeah. And we were also questioning whether, I wonder if Christ had, was also in a portal. I mean, not to be sacrilegious in any way, but for some people it's a sensitive subject. But is it possible that he actually went into another dimensional space, came back, and they were like, well, he's still alive?
Possibly. Or that, Alex Kelly was talking about Jesus in the last name, but there were at least two people.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we did.
It's entirely possible that he could have gone away for a much longer period of time and then come back, which is why people didn't recognize him. But he came back like within a day. You see what I mean? I brought him back to the day after he was in there, so he had enough time to heal and to repair himself and to maybe grow his hair long or something like that. He may have been shaved by the Romans with a crucifixion or something.
Yeah.
And so when he comes back, he might have had a beard and long hair, and people didn't recognize him.
It's interesting to think about. I hadn't thought about it, I hadn't put the two together. I kind of felt this Semiramis was similar to Ishtar, but when I started thinking about the story about how she was pulled out of that inner part of the earth, which was a portal. So, and then we were talking about wells too.
Oh yeah. And wishing wells. And I was in the wishing well in the town yesterday.
Wishing well, yeah.
But look, I went over to it, and it's in the local park. It's not people go for it, but I looked down into it, and the wishing well was empty of water. There was just coins at the bottom of the thing. So I don't know what's going on there. Why do you have an empty wishing well? It must mean something.
Yeah, but the place where Sumer was pulled out of, was in the depths of the planet. Yeah. So it was almost like a winding staircase going down, but could have had that feeling of a well.
Subterranean. So
yeah.
So we're just about an hour into this, and I think it might be a good time to stop the recording, edit it up a bit, and see if it's something that we can put in the archives.
Yeah.
I'll put it on YouTube as well when I get a chance.
Okay, and so these we're going to try to keep these transmissions down to and after comments down to about an hour. So if people want to be listening to the series, they're not going to feel like this is a commitment of a 2-hour listen.
Yeah.
You know, we want to bring it down to an hour so it's a little bit easier for people to take in and hear the story, and unless I hear otherwise. That's why we're going to do it for the next couple of weeks or so.
So, remember we were talking about Ashtar Command.
Oh yeah.
And yeah. So in the show that we didn't record, I spoke that in the 1970s there was this mysterious TV transmission that came across the TV. Very much, it had these strange sort of sci-fi noises, lots of buzzing and clicking and stuff like that. But I was a bit suspicious of it because it sounded to me like a slowed down voice. I'm an audio engineer. I do stuff like this, so I pull stretch and squeeze time and things like that. So what I did is that I took that original recording and I speeded it up. So what sounded like it sounded like a normal British speaking voice, and you might be able to hear it coming over the speakers. I'm not sure. I'll try and make it so that you can hear this, but actually, if I just give you the page, yeah, that would be better. So, yes.
So I remember listening to it, and it's almost like something out of the Twilight Zone, or
yes,
yeah. It's really strange, because here's regular news going on, and then the news is bypassed, and you have this, greetings, I am Ashtar from the star system, blah, 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 and he's like this long-haired blonde man.
Now,
it's a picture of him.
Yeah.
He's not talking.
No, because I think that picture was added later. So let's just have a quick look to see what this recording now sounds like if it's speeded up so that the voice comes out normal instead of really low. So when we do this,
can you do a comparison of what it sounds like and then do?
Yeah, I'll give you. So, it sounds terrible. It sounds really terrible.
Yeah, maybe it can be added on later.
Yeah.
But I do want to say something, JP, and I have seen someone that looked like Ashtar in a very deep meditation. I was doing a regression, and there was this man with very long blonde hair, and it looked very similar to that, and he was just like looking at me. So and I don't know where that picture came from or what inspired that, but as far as the audio, you're the expert on that. You were able to slow.
So this
bring
is
it
a fake
to normal speed.
Yeah, it was a fake, very much a fake. And indeed, what I did is that I did a cover version. I reproduced that, and using my voice, I've made the. Yeah, that's the sound of my voice slowed down to pretend to be outside. I don't know if you could hear that. You probably can't.
I think it's important because for some reason that came up. I'm not sure what made us think about Ashtar.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the Valons.
Okay.
Being the Chris Thomas has been talking about the Valons. And from reading the Akashic records, he says that the Valons are a fourth dimensional race whose planet was destroyed, and that they all came here looking for somewhere to live, and they found us here 300 years ago and decided to try and get rid of us all. And so they built up this idea that we'll be connecting in with all of these ascension programs and all of that stuff. But all of these ascension programs are they're all a ploy moves to get humans off the planet, so there's enough room for the Valon. But that plan has been stopped. There's very few Valons left. But it's strange because Valon and Vinkar, they all, they have the same sort of energy to them. It's, they want to destroy humans. It's just like, how come everybody wants to destroy it? Now we see Andronicus transmission today revealed why nobody likes the humans.
Yeah, the Vinkala are just, it's sort of this battle over dominion all the time.
Yeah, and it's a real, it's such a hassle, and you could hear Andronicus's what's that word? Frustration, desperation about it. Because it's like, oh God, have we really got to have these guys for all eternity? And it's about love. How do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? So, what do you think, Jessica?
We're all learning. Very interesting.
Anyhow, so I think for today's show, I think that's our journey today, and we'll hopefully I'll be back online. The more I can have it. I hope to be back by the weekend. I really do. If not, I'll be building my studio in my kitchen again. It's like I've got 3 laptops and a mixing desk and wires trailing everywhere. All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much. This has been Answers from the Universe. I haven't got enough. I'm going to play it out using that recording that I was talking about, my version of the Ashtar command. So it was a fake, and to show how much of a fake it was, I recorded this.
The Ashtar command is the fake.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Sorry. I was jumping around. What Chris Thomas was saying is that all of these channeled messages from like the Ashtar and all these rather dodgy, channels that we've been getting are all the Valons trying to persuade us to leave the planet by sort of going into ascension programs and all of this stuff. But basically,
like the Hell Bop and all them,
that.
just trying to exit. I can't wait to leave the Earth. That kind of mentality. Yeah.
Because the Valons have been making it really hard for us to remain on the planet. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they've probably been using time travel to place these very difficult situations so that we, as a race, we're traumatized in the early part of our development. Anyhow.
And like we said, the Valons are either like the Vinkala or the Ketronians.
Yeah, or the Archons.
The Archons. It's one of them. Is just trying to find the common thread here.
So we're still working it all out. We haven't got it all down yet. And so with that, I'm going to play us out. Thank you very much, Jessica. I'm probably going to hang up right now. So if you want to say goodbye, and then I'll play this with you.
Okay, and thank you, JP, and I appreciate your help. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a wonderful show at Answers from the Universe. Thank you again, Colleen, for your help, and to Andromeda and Andronicus, peace on Earth, and